Welcome to Contemplative Living, where we view contemplations for the week to have a better understanding of our spiritual paths. This is Contemplative Living with Dave Bennett, contemplations and reflective meditations. All right, hello and welcome to another Contemplative Living, where we talk about concepts to bring contemplation and create a contemplative way of living. So, it's been kind of a rough week. This is, and that's normal for me at this time of year because many of you know I had stage 4 lung and bone cancer, and that was almost 20 years ago I was diagnosed, and so I was able to overcome that in a short period of time. But then the doctors treat me every year with that I have to go through like a screening every year. Hi Shirley, good morning, how are you doing? Glad you joined us. But anyway, so this is my week for the screening, which creates a lot of stress in my life and stuff like that. So, but when that happens, I think it's good to go back to basics a lot of times. And so that's kind of what this week's contemplative living is going to be all about, is kind of going back to basics and connecting to our intuitive self and our insights. So first, I'd like to read something from Alan Alda. He says, "You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your intuition. What you'll discover will be wonderful, and what you'll discover is yourself." So that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit, is going into our own intuitive knowing and bringing that forward. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with meditation most of the time. So meditation enhances intuition. The more you practice, the more you gain insight into every aspect of your life. It's all about taking time for ourselves. You know, it's a lot of times in this society that we've grown up in, we weren't taught to take time for ourselves. And we weren't taught to give ourselves some silence and to use that in order to maintain our health and maintain our center and balance. And when we do, we find it so rewarding. And the more that we practice it and make it, at first it's kind of a discipline, right? We have to discipline ourselves to meditate. And you hit and miss. And we tend to be rough on ourselves. We're like, oh, I don't feel anything or something like that. Well, the thing is to stick to it. Because everyone who's developed a practice, at first it's a little rocky, and that's okay. We can't beat ourselves up for that. But eventually it develops, and it develops into that, creating that calm, centering peace within yourself. And when we're in that peace, we have a greater ability to be able to see clearly. And when we come out of meditation, we have that calm presence that we can bring into our everyday life. And that's huge. That's really huge to be able to do that and bring it into your life. So, insights can relate to present or past events, guiding us to a greater understanding of our life's path. Now, this is kind of interesting because a lot of times in our day-to-day life with the circumstances and everything that are going on, a lot of times we're really reflecting a lot of times on our past, and we judge the present moment by past experiences. And again, that's pretty relatively normal for most people. So by using your meditative practice in a contemplative way and looking at past, you see your past a lot clearer so that you have a greater understanding of why you are the person you are now. And that's a really, really powerful tool in our toolbox to be able to look at and examine where we've come from so that we understand who we are now in the present. And that's the secret. Don't get caught up and stuck in the past, but to bring the lessons from the past into the present so that you can move forward in a more empowered way. So a lot of times you'll hear me say, don't go into the past. Well, it's all right to do it if you're using it as a period of time to learn so that you can grow from the present. So use the past as a tool, but not as a crutch. Let's not live in the past. Let's try to live in the present, but use the past as a teaching tool to strengthen and empower us. The future is a variety of possibilities with an appropriate course focused on what holds the greatest energy. So the future has a variety of possibilities. And I saw this in my near-death experience when I actually went beyond my death and into my futures. And it's amazing how we have a lot of possibilities, potential that and it allows us to kind of, in our life's path, it allows us to kind of swerve. We can go off the path a little bit, but we'll come back into the center again. But with ourselves focused, we can see what holds the greatest energy for us. And this is the key to living in the present and working toward the future, is to pay attention to what holds the greatest energy for you. When you're working on something and it just doesn't seem to work, and there's no energy behind it, there's no, it just doesn't seem to flow, that's a clue. That's a clue to help you to distinguish that maybe that isn't part of the path that's best for you. Okay. And then if you notice, you tweak it maybe just a little bit, give it just a little tweak, and all of a sudden it holds so much more energy. And you feel it. It's like a feedback loop. You put energy into it and it gives you energy back. Then that is a part of your future that you need to pay attention to. So I see a couple more people have joined us. Everett, good morning. And another Shirley. We have two Shirleys with us this morning. Great. Okay, moving on. True insights slip in quietly and have to be examined and unraveled to see what each impression contains. This is so true. In a contemplative practice, when you receive an intuitive knowing, an insight, many times they're just that still, quiet voice. That's what Edgar Cayce used to call it, that still, quiet voice. And when you feel or hear or envision, it can come to you in so many different ways. But it's a calm, and it's non-judgmental, and it's very quiet many times, especially when you're first starting out, when you're first developing your practice. It's a very quiet, subtle voice. And then you have to interpret it, because many times it's a symbol, or many times it's just a word, and then you have to take it in, and you have to, and this is where the contemplative part of living comes in, is you have to then digest it and to look at it and see where it might fit in the puzzle of your life. It's just like, life can be like a giant puzzle, and you've got all these little pieces, and you have to, find which piece goes where, and all of that. That's the wonder in life. That's the discovery in life, and that's what's exciting about living this life. But when you get those insights that give us a little piece, then we have to explore, where does that piece fit, and how can I apply it in this present moment? So, like I said when I began, this week started out kind of rough for me, because of just the way things are for me in this life, that I have to go through this health crisis every year, and so my reflections this week and my contemplations are maybe not in the standard flow of things that I used to. So, going back to basics, it's good to recognize that our universe is holographic by intention, showing us the many makeup of oneness, and that one oh boy, I'm really messing this one up. So the universe is holographic by intention, showing us the many makeups of oneness. And the one is also mirrored within us. So we are a part of the divine. The divine resides within us. We are interconnected, interdependent with the divine, with the oneness, with God, whatever you want to call it. But we are a part of it. It is a part of us, and we grow together. Basic concept, right? If we take this in as a basic concept, that we are part of that oneness, and that oneness resides within us, that means that we have the capacity to connect at any time. Good morning, Jean. How are you doing? Justine, I'm glad you've joined us. We have that ability to connect. And with that ability, it enhances, knowing that, it enhances our meditation, our intuitiveness, our contemplative living way of living. So it's just a standard that I like to go back to every now and then. And then with that understanding, then you understand that you have a perfect sense of intuition or insight. We all have it. It's a part of who we are. Every living being has a perfect sense of intuition or insight. And our guides are patiently waiting to develop communication. I don't know how many times when I'm doing an energetic healing and counsel work, when I do my coaching, how many times that I hear the guide saying, I've been waiting for them to speak to me. I've been waiting for them to communicate with me on one level or another, whether intuitively or allow me to give them insights that they then recognize are coming from the higher source within themselves, or their guides, however you want to envision that. But many times I get this message that your guides are patiently waiting to develop communication. They're there. They're always there. You may feel alone a lot of times, and you may feel like, you are struggling through this life and everything, but your guides are always there, and they're patient, and they're just waiting. They're there to help you whenever you need it. And that's really, it was very this is another one of my basic tenets that I try to recognize, because I see it a lot of times with my clients. So this week it was a good reminder for me, because I was out of sorts this week with all my health issue stuff, and so dealing with the pain that I've had this week, and I've had a lot of back issues as a result of my cancer and stuff like that, and so. And going to doctors and being poked and prodded and tested and all this stuff, that's a part of a routine, that annual routine that I have to kind of go through. Well, it throws me off center. And when I'm off center, I forget to communicate with my guides. I forget to ask them for help. Excuse me. So coming back to it and allowing yourself to recognize my guides are there. They're there to help me. Even if I just ask them to help me gain some peace, and help me to recenter. And then take a few deep breaths and see if you can feel that essence, that they are there. They're there. They have their hands on your shoulders, and they are there to help you. So I hope I know it's been one of those kind of weeks. There's been a high anxiety just globally right now. And so with everything that's going on, and that the circumstances tend to carry us along. So I hope that you take a moment and reconnect with your intuition, your insight, and know that we all have it, and that developing a contemplative practice helps us to come into our day, bring that peace and serenity that lives in the silence, and use that to develop that communication, ask for help with our friends, and enjoy our lives, and find our lives to be empowering, because we can move forward with what we can accomplish. And so I wish you the greatest week, and namaste.